welcome to the Unlock Your Blocks podcast. My name is Elyssa, and I want to ask you a question. Are you operating mostly in your zone of genius? Because if you're not only are you leaving some success out on the table, probably some money too, but your lifestyle could be so much more full of ease. So today in this episode, I'm going to talk to you about the zone of genius, how to know what it is for you, and how to move into your fulfilled era of ease. Author Gay Hendricks, creator of the books Big Leap, or author of The Big Leap and The Genius Zone, created this new way of looking at the zone of genius that I absolutely love. So if you've never read those books, I would start with The Big Leap. And it's not specific for entrepreneurs, but it is really helpful. If you're an entrepreneur, you should absolutely read this book if you haven't yet. But even if you're in a career, if you're retired, The Big Leap is a great book to get you started on your journey towards your zone of genius. But today, what I want to do in the next few minutes is to just lay out for you why you should care about this, okay? So if you feel like life just keeps getting in the way of the important stuff and the stuff that really matters to you, this is your episode. So the zone of genius definition that Gay Hendricks lays out, this is not his exact word for word, but it's essentially the intersection between your unique talents, your passions, and your natural abilities and strengths. So it utilizes these sort of natural talents and what actually lights you up, what brings you joy. For overachievers, you're probably already thinking, because I know if you're listening to this podcast, you're likely somebody who is a very high achieving woman, and you are looking at all of the ways that this feels impossible, okay? You're not alone. But you're probably thinking that it's not really practical to operate in your zone of genius all the time. That's like a fun thing that we get to do every once in a while, right? But I'm here to tell you from experience and from watching my clients over the last decade of coaching that it is possible that if you work toward operating more and more in your zone of genius, operating more and more in the areas that you're strongest in, and in the areas that bring you the most joy and fulfillment, and that you contribute the most to society with, then you are going to be more successful. You will make more money. You will be at a higher level in every area. Your self-development will go through the roof. Your nervous system regulation will click in. Everything aligns around you pursuing the things that light you up. I'm going to explain some things about why this is so important, because you may just be operating in your life and you're like, my job's fine. My day-to-day life is fine. I probably wish I could work out more. I wish I would eat a little bit more clean, or maybe those aren't even issues for you. You've got that dialed in, but it's just kind of like you're coasting, right? Or maybe you're feeling every single day like, I just feel behind at the end of every day. I am just living in this overwhelmed state. I have procrastination going on. I've got people pleasing going on. I can't set boundaries. It's really hard for me to go to sleep at night and not just procrastinate my bedtime. Maybe you're dealing with all of these challenges. What would you think of the fact that if you are in your zone of genius more of the time, those things will start to melt away? Here's why. Why do we need to be in our zone of genius in order for everything to start lining up? Because if you're not in your zone of genius, it is a playground for self-sabotage. Okay, we're talking people-pleasing, procrastination, imposter syndrome, burnout, negative self-talk, never actually achieving what you're capable of. Because if you are not operating at a level that this lights you up, this is the thing you were made to do, most of the time, if you're not operating at that level most of the time, then you are doing yourself and the world a disservice. It means that you're operating in survival mode most of the time. Our zone of genius brings about a special relief from survival mode because you are choosing to do things that are so aligned with who you are and what you were meant to do on this earth that your nervous system begins to feel safe against all odds when you're in your zone of genius. The level of ease that your zone of genius makes possible is for your nervous system, and for your nervous system to feel safe, you become unstoppable when that is the case. Your emotional triggers won't stop you. Procrastination and the things that, I kind of picture the protector parts, the 3 Ps, procrastination, perfectionism, people pleasing. I kind of picture them like grabbing onto your ankle and you're just trying so hard to get to your dreams and you just keep getting pulled back in. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And if you are operating in your zone of genius, your body will naturally let go of the protector part responses. It will naturally feel safe in your immune system in your nervous system and your immune system. Because when you're in survival mode, the things that go offline are your immune system, your logical, best, most productive thinking. Your decision-making capacity goes out the door the second that you're in survival mode, because all that your system thinks it's doing is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Get into the nearest tree. Get relief from this threat. But when the threats are coming at you all the time, you can't explain to your nervous system that you're not actually going to die with each of those threats. It actually thinks that you need all of these protector parts just to make it so you can survive and stay alive. Right? So the more aligned you are, anytime you're doing something that's not aligned with you, I mean, let me know. I would love to hear from you if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're tuning in somewhere that you can leave me a response. I would love this. Or come over to Instagram and DM me at Elyssa C. Smith. I would love to know if you have experienced before when you said yes to something that you should have said no to, girl, and you just hated every second of the thing that you said yes to because it wasn't aligned with who you are and what you really wanted to be contributing and what you wanted to offer in that moment. When we are not aligned, when our alignment is off with saying yes to things that we should say no to because we just don't have time or we just don't want to do that, or those are toxic people, we shouldn't be with them, our system feels unsafe and throws us into survival mode. When you're operating in your zone of genius, you're allowing your joy, your fulfillment, and your natural abilities to lead your yeses, to help you decide what to say yes to. And when you do that, the most beautiful thing happens, that your nervous system starts to relax and your inner little girl will start to trust you more. I talk a lot about that inner little person. You know, it's really it's like a wounded part of you that started when you were little. We all have this part of us that's a wounded piece that didn't get her needs met when we were small. And you know what? Maybe you had a great childhood like I did. Maybe you had the best parents in the world and they loved each other. They loved you. They told you that all the time. But there were still probably some emotional needs that went unmet. Or maybe you witnessed something traumatic. Or maybe you went through a big move and your little heart was broken because you had to leave your friends behind. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be anyone's fault. But at that time, your system learned it's not safe to do what feels right, because sometimes the wrong thing's going to happen. And so when we learn that, we have to come back intentionally to following our hearts and to following our zone of genius, following our natural capacities and our natural things that light us up. And when you do that, the nervous system can relax and let go of the protector parts. And it's really important that you take time as an adult then to change the message to that little wounded part. You tell her, hey, it's actually safe to do a little less so that we can focus on what we love. It's actually safe to say no to this thing that just feels terrible to say yes to, and to say yes instead to this thing that we feel a little guilty because it's going to be so easy for us to do, or it's going to be so enjoyable. I know that the first few times I started talking about on social media or wherever I've been talking to my audience, and the first few times I talked to the Stress Less Lounge Facebook group, which is my free community that you can join if you're a woman, the first few times I started talking about my mornings and how I don't like to start my day before 9:30 in the morning because I like to have a slow morning, or I like to have the opportunity to sleep in a little bit. I homeschool my son and I have my own business. There's no reason in the world that I shouldn't do that if I want to and if I am able to. Now, granted, sometimes I have clients early, sometimes my son has something going on, but for the most part, I get to have my mornings how I want them to be. It was really scary for me to talk to people about that, because I came from a background where it's like, if you're not working hard, you're lazy. And if you're lazy, then you're going to be rejected. If you're rejected, then you're going to be kicked out of the herd and probably get eaten by a predator. That's what my system always thought. My little nervous system was trying to protect me by keeping me busy, busy, busy. I had to be the hardest worker in the room, and I had to no matter what, it doesn't matter what the job is, I'm going to get it done. Now, this isn't to say, by the way, like I'm an entrepreneur. And if you're an entrepreneur too, you know that sometimes you got to get your hands dirty. You got to do the stuff. Like, I am not the world's best person at putting together a little website landing page, but you better believe I knew how to do it when I first started, and I learned and I taught myself, and I was the one doing that for myself. I now have a team that does that for me because I am focusing in on my zone of genius, which is speaking, which is doing interviews, which is answering Q&As, which is giving presentations in groups and working with one-to-one clients. Those are all my places that light me up. Also, one of my zones of genius is moving my body. I love to dance. I do Taekwondo with my son, and I was not expecting to love that, but I love it. So I do as much as I can during my day, even if it's Taekwondo. Taekwondo does not, to my knowledge, the fact that I do Taekwondo does not necessarily lift anyone else up or like make anybody else's day. It doesn't really contribute to society. But because I do it regularly and it makes me happy, I feel content in my life on the days that I do Taekwondo. When I feel content in my life, you better believe that impacts my clients. You better believe that puts me at a higher level of productivity. Are you kidding me? Like when I'm rested because I took my slow morning, and when I do my body movement, I go to my cardio dance class with my trainer, or I work out with my trainer, or I do a Taekwondo class, I feel so good in my body. I can't help but let that spill over to everyone else, and it makes me super duper productive. So when you're operating in your zone of genius most of the time, and you're looking for making decisions based on, okay, where's the ease? Where's the peace? Where's the joy? Where's the natural ability that I have going to contribute today? Everything else becomes so much easier and so much more impactful and productive. So how do you find your zone of genius? Well, you might know already where your things are in your life, that the stuff that you're doing that really do light you up. So you make a list of what you love to do and what the things also that are easy for you. Now, I have a client who she is incredible at like social media marketing, and she also can build websites like nobody's business. She doesn't love building websites, but she can do it and it's easy for her. So sometimes there'll be some combination of things that she does for her clients that involve online web design and the other stuff that she's really passionate about. So make a list of what's easy for you, even if it's not a passion, but also first and foremost, what you're passionate about, what lights you up. And then you make a list of all the things that you're doing that do not light you up. Everything that's not that, make another list of those. And then start with that list of things that are not your zone of genius and pick one tiny baby step, one tiny thing that you could get off your plate somehow. Either you stop doing it, you hire someone else to do it, you ask for help. We talked in the last solo episode last week was about how do you streamline your life? And a lot of it has to do with figuring out how you can be okay asking for help and how to do that and how to feel okay delegating and how to do that. So you get the one little tiny thing off your plate, and that makes you one step closer to just operating in your zone of genius. And then the next thing you do is you pick something that's in your zone of genius that you're not already doing regularly, and you add it back in. Low-hanging fruit, ladies. Like, we're not talking anything big. We're not talking quit your job and be a parachute instructor, like a free diving instructor, if that lights you up, unless that's really what you want to do and you have the qualifications and the natural abilities, and that's the next right step for you. But your system probably can't tolerate that if you're not currently doing something like that. So just pick the lowest hanging fruit, get one thing off your plate and add one thing that's in your zone of genius. The more often you do this and the more you can calm your nervous system with the 3 S's, take your deep breaths for that safety step first. For the self-nurturing step, make sure you're nurturing your body. For the support step, you're getting in touch with people that are really big fans and they're not going to judge anything that you're doing. They're going to be so validating. And then you're going to study the discomfort as you start to get things that you don't love off your plate and more things that you do love on your plate. Study the discomfort, stay with it, and then figure out where the negative beliefs came from that are fueling your discomfort as you move toward a life of ease. You can do that in a 15-minute Unlock Your Blocks session with me. I offer free 15-minute focus calls, and you can just ask me, can you help me figure out what is at the root of me not being able to get this stuff off my plate that I don't want to do and really focus in on my zone of genius. Oftentimes it comes from hidden trauma, stuff that you may not be able to uncover for yourself. So that's what I'm here for. I hope this was really helpful for you today. I hope that you can take a moment, write the things down that really light you up, and then write the things down that really don't, and then start adding in more and more that makes you happy, peaceful, and fulfilled. Hopefully that was helpful for you. I hope you take such good care of yourself, and I will see you here next.